everyone to catch up. So, hi everyone. Welcome to today's Microsoft Student Ambassadors event in conjunction with the Developer Student Clubs from the Chinhoyi University of Technology. Today's event is going to be focused on Laravel. Sorry for the misspelling there, Laravel. I actually always get that wrong, Laravel or Laravel. I never truly get which one we're supposed to use, but thankfully my code is a little better than my pronunciation. Not much though. Regardless, today's event was made in conjunction and with the help of quite a few people. We already talked about DSC cut, and we'll introduce their lead right now, Miss Shakani Tiago. Shakani, you want to say hi?
Um, Hi guys. My name is.
No, please continue.
My name is Shakani Chiradza, and I'm the DSC lead for CUT. I'm an IT student in my third, fourth year, somewhere in between. So yeah, I know code and stuff.
You know code and stuff. I'm willing to listen to what the and stuff means, because the and stuff part seems more interesting.
No, not quite. I can do yoga, I guess. It doesn't pay, but
You just started yoga school. We'll start online classes for that. In fact, no, we'll teach people how to build an app for that, and then they can start online classes for that. That seems to be much better. But okay, let's move on. We also this event is technically sort of being hosted by Microsoft Student Ambassadors for the Harare Institute of Technology, but it's also being co-hosted by Microsoft Student Ambassadors for the University of Zimbabwe. So the student ambassador for there, Mr. Takuzwa Chikasha, want to say hi, man?
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm not sure if my camera is on yet.
No, it's not on.
It's on. It's on.
Okay,
it's
now
definitely
it's on.
Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm sorry to a lot of people who have been missing me for the past 2 events. I was supposed to be there. There were technical issues. I would like to say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Technical issues are kind of the norm.
I I'm the Microsoft Student Ambassador for UZ, and if okay, I'm also the representative of IBM Quantum Computing. I know code, and sorry, there's some feedback.
Hey, don't worry, that's cool.
Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, I'm the student ambassador for UZ. I'm also representative for IBM Quantum Computing in Zimbabwe,
nice,
I think.
Nice.
And amongst other things.
Oh, I'm sorry for anyone who might not be Zimbabwean who listens to that, because this is going to get recorded. We'll put it on the YouTube channel later. G is a sign of applause.
Oh,
oh
please. Oh, please. Okay. I'm a lot of things. I don't think I have to mention them here. And I don't do yoga. Sorry to disappoint to anybody.
Hey, I don't either. You see why I said we should sign up and listen? You just gave Shakane a side up.
Yeah.
Each other fight and stuff. But okay, great. So unfortunately, the fourth presenter, Mr. Giving Ngube, is not online. Zimbabwean issues. I mean, I'll actually take a moment to say thank you to anyone who's joining, because I understand that there's a lot of constraints even when setting up an online event like this, maybe even more than an in-person one sometimes, because data and home, and some of you are hearing funny noises, but that's just how the whole working from home situation has been like. But we're honestly grateful to anyone who just decided to take the time to join today's event. Whether you watch it now live or you can't watch it on the YouTube channel afterwards, it's great that you made the effort to check this out. Hopefully you learned something from it and go from it. But I think introductions aside, now we can actually get started on this. So what happened was, partially because we knew that there might be things like network issues and so on, Mr. Given was kind enough to have pre-recorded a lot of the sessions that he's going to be teaching us in today's session. The good thing is there's still the usual, there's a question and answer session for anyone who's watching live, so you can actually ask questions. What we're going to do is we'll play sort of each segment, and then you guys can ask questions, and then we'll try and answer those questions best as we can. If Given can actually join back on his phone, which he might later on, Given you can leave answers in the question and answer section as well, and we'll throw them in the chat there. But yeah, let's actually get started on the main event, starting with pretty much an introduction to how you set up Laravel and get it going on a PC. He's using a Linux PC, but it's pretty much still the same, mostly still the same on Windows. I'll try and make up for any differences there that people might have in case they're having issues. But yeah, let's try and get started. Okay, just give a second here. Let's see. I'm going to have to share my whole screen. Let me see. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
I mean, we can sort of like have an introduction to Laravel without the screen. I can tell you a little about Laravel before we dive in, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. That would be great. Yeah, please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Now,
so,
stop here. And, yeah.
No, you can continue sharing your screen. I can just say stuff over your screen. It's fine.
Yeah, okay, sure. Go. Let me see here. Get this set up. There. You can talk for a bit and then you can.
Okay. So Laravel is a PHP framework for back-end web development, and to those of you who don't know, PHP is like the language used for back-end, and a framework is sort of tools for building code that is like up to standard and is marketable, because sometimes hard code doesn't usually do the thing. So Laravel is like a framework for PHP. It helps when building code. It helps when running code, and what else?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to. Yeah, continue, please.
Okay, so when developing large systems, or if you are developing a sort of industry type website, it's usually advised to use frameworks, because frameworks help your code stay updated. Frameworks make your code run faster. Yeah, you basically have clean code. And those of you who don't know what clean code means, it's like, compact code, that code that doesn't use much memory so that it runs faster on the end user side. Yeah, so Laravel is like a framework which helps in that, in summary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do here, since a lot of Given's sessions are actually really long, we'll play some of them maybe up to a certain point, and others will definitely play the full thing, but we'll not actually keep people's time here, and let me actually get started on that with the first one. Here we go.
Hello everyone, my name is Given, information security student at the Laravel Institute of Technology. Today I'm going to give you an introduction to the Laravel Framework, which is a back-end framework for building web applications in PHP. Laravel is built on the concepts of MVC, which is Model View Controller. So Laravel is a very awesome framework. So just like anything in computer science, to understand it, you actually have to build it yourself. So today what we're going to build a blog, just a simple blog yeah, so that you can get how you can get comfortable with working with Laravel. So to get started, you are going to need Composer. So go ahead and go to composer.org and download Composer on your machine. And you're going to need PHP, obviously. If you don't know how to install PHP, just Google it. Just Google how to install PHP. You'll find plenty of solutions out there. So yeah, we're going to use Composer and PHP. So to get started, the first step is to install Laravel. So we are going to use Composer create project. So just go ahead and run this command, Composer create project, Laravel prepare dist, and then the name of the folder which you want to use. So I already installed Composer, not Composer, I mean Laravel on my machine, so I'm not going to do that again. So after you've installed Laravel, the next thing you're going to want to do is to install another package called Laravel Ui. Let's go Composer require Laravel Ui. So this package gives you basic authentication features, and it gives you some presets to use things like Vue.js or React or whatever other front-end frameworks out there. So okay, while this is still installing, let's take a look at what we have here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to go into your .env file. You're going to want to set your database connection here. So you're going to want to set your database host if it's not localhost here. If you're not using MySQL, you could use PostgreSQL, SQLite, or whatever. So here my database username is Laravel and my password is pass. Don't hate me, guys. This might be different on your machine, so make sure to put the correct details here, otherwise it's going to produce some very weird errors. So okay. Alright, let's wait for that step. So okay, installing Laravel is simple if you have Composer. Just go Composer create project, and then you would say Laravel / Laravel. This will install Laravel on your machine. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is to run our database migrations. So just go php add sun migrate. So what this does is it's going to create database tables in your database. So as you can see, it's going to create our users table, password reset. These come pre-installed in Laravel. So the other thing we're going to want to do is to going to say php add sun UI. We're going to use bootstrap and then /auth to scaffold all the authentication, and then we're going to install the other dependencies. Just run. I'm going to use yarn. I'm going to go yarn install. Depending on internet connection, this is gonna take a while. Okay, so now it's installing all the needed dependencies. So in the meantime, let's fire up our development server. So just go php add sun save. So this will start a local development server at port 8000. So as you can see, So there is our project. So this is the default Laravel home page. If you are seeing this, it means you have successfully installed Laravel on your machine. So what you're going to do, we're going to build a blog. So we're going to just make some simple CRUD operations. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to create our controllers and models. So here is what we're going to do. To create a module in Laravel, just go and run php artisan and use the make command. We're going to make a module. Then the module is post, and then we are going to include a migration file, a seeder, a factory, and we're also going to generate a controller, and then just hit enter. So this will create a migration, a seeder, a factory, and controller associated with the post. Not yet, I guess. It's taking so long. Anyway, so let's go into the database directory. There's migrations. So let's write our migrations. So this is the migrations file. So it's going to say schema create. The table we're going to create is post. So let's define what we need here. So the first thing I'm going to say table. Every post has got a title, so we're just going to say string. The title is string, and then the other thing is that I want to create a slug, which should be a nicer URL for the blog post. So let's just go say table string again, which is a slug, and then want to make the slug unique, and then a post has got to have a body, so we're going to use text and then define the body. And the other thing is the author or the user who created the post. So just going to say foreign ID, user ID, and then want to say constraint, and then on delete want to cascade. So if the user is deleted and all their associated posts are also deleted with them, we don't want posts which don't have authors in our machine. So after that, let's run our migrations. So just go and say php artisan migrate. So this will create the post table that we're going to need. So after creating the migrations, the next thing we're going to want to do is to go to the post module. So for security reasons, we need to define this property which is protected. Some people use the guarded, so we're just going to say guarded is equals to empty array. So we want all our fields to be mass assignable so that we can just pass an array of fields into the post, and then it's going to populate all those fields. Don't worry about it. Okay, so now that this is done, now let's see what's in the controller. So here is our post controller and it's empty. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to go to our routes file and define our routes. So can say route resource post controller. Okay guys, you may have noticed this is really ugly. I prefer this better. So to make this work, you need to go into your auth service provider, and then uncomment this, not the auth, the route service provider. So the route service provider, you need to uncomment this namespace so that Laravel is going to know where to look for your controllers, so that we can just pass controllers as strings rather than this. This is really ugly. Some people prefer it, but nah, I don't. So okay, so what this resource does, it's going to create all the necessary routes for CRUD, which is create. It's going to create a route which is /create, the other one which is for update, the other one for edit, and the other one for index. So this is going to create all these 4 routes for us. Okay, so now let's get back to our controller. Let me see if the okay, yarn is done installing. So after installing your JavaScript dependencies, just run yarn run watch. This is to compile your dependencies. So as you can see, our controller is empty, but we want to use resourceful controllers. So we are going to generate this controller again, but we want to use the boilerplate provided by us by Laravel. So go ahead and in your terminal now, and then run php @sun make controller post controller, and then make sure to say model is equals to post, and then make sure to also pass a resource. So we want to make this controller a resourceful controller so that it comes with methods like create, update, delete, and show. So let's run that.
Sorry, I realized the last 5 minutes of the event were showing just the waiting screen, which is a mistake on my part. Really sorry. My machine had an error. I didn't realize that I was showing the wrong thing in the background. I'll go back to Given's presentation and just pull it back a few minutes just so that everyone can catch up on what was actually supposed to have been shown rather than just what was being said. Okay, just Let's see here. Let's go back to this. All right, let's go back to, I think it was here.
If you could switch the audio setting as well, because there's no audio right now.
Sorry? So what are you saying?
The audio isn't working.
The
You
audio isn't
noticed,
working.
right? Yeah.
Let me fix that. Let me see. Okay, this time it's including audio. Go back to this. Alright, should play now.
Protected. Some people use the gadget. So it's going to say gadget is equals to empty array. So we want all our fields to be mass assignable so that we can just pass an array of fields into the post, and then it's going to populate all those fields. Don't worry about them. Okay, so now that this is done, now let's see what's in the controller. So here's our post controller and it's empty. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to go to our routes file and define our routes. So don't say route resource post controller. Okay, guys, you may have noticed this is really ugly. I prefer this better. So to make this work, you need to go into your auth service provider, and then uncomment this, not the auth, the route service provider. So the route service provider, you need to uncomment this namespace so that Laravel is going to know where to look for your controllers, so that we can just pass controllers as strings rather than this. This is really ugly. Some people prefer it, but nah, I don't. So okay, so what this resource does, it's going to create all the necessary routes for CRUD, which is create. It's going to create a route which is /create, the other one which is for update, the other one for edit, and the other one for index. So this is going to create all these 4 routes for us. Okay, so now let's get back to our controller. Let me see if okay, yarn is done installing. So after installing your JavaScript dependencies, just run yarn run watch. This is to compile your dependencies. So as you can see, our controller is empty, but we want to use resourceful controllers. So we are going to generate this controller again, but we want to use the boilerplate provided by us by Laravel. So go ahead and in your terminal and then run php @sun make controller post controller, and then make sure to say model is equals to post, and then make sure to also pass a resource. So we want to make this controller a resourceful controller so that it comes with methods like create, update, delete, and show. So let's run that. Okay, we forgot. Okay, let's see. It's just taking so long. So the way MVC works is that if we have a controller corresponds to a certain route. So a controller has got an action. So this is the action. If I go to posts index, so this is the action that's going to be invoked. So this is the code we are going to define in this method is what's going to be invoked here. So here we are just going to show the view for the posts. So let's just load all the posts. A post is equals to post all. So this all method, it gives you all the posts you have in your database, and then I'm just going to say return view posts dot index. So now if you go back to the browser and go to /posts, which is the index action of the post, this is going to throw an error. It's saying the view posts.index is not found. That's because we haven't defined that yet. So to create the view, just go to your resources, the view. This is where your views are going to be stored. So we are going to create a new file called posts. This is the directory, which is the index.blade.php. So this .blade.php, blade is our templating engine. So this is how we are going to create some logic in our view. So since we are not going to use a front-end framework like React.js or Vue or Angular, we're just going to use plain old blade templates. So and the other thing we're gonna want is to create a layout. So we already have one apparently. Yes, we do. So in our post.index,
Okay, everyone, I'm just going to pause for a second here and go back to the main presentation. The reason for that is simple. I feel like we've been having what's it called, a very technical segment of things, and that's fine, I guess, as long as you want to be super technical. But what I'm trying to do also is to make this as accessible as possible to everyone, and I know that isn't exactly the case for a lot of us. So what I was gonna do is maybe if Tagutu and Chakani, you guys still there? I was gonna say we all sort of at least partially explain what's going on, just so that people can get a better understanding. Just to put it in a very short and sweet way from my perspective, what was happening here was essentially setting up the basics of your Laravel environment, right? So, not environment actually, but pretty much a Laravel site. Environment would be, the tools you're using to develop it. He was using Linux, but you could do this in Windows as well. He was using Atom. You could use Visual Studio Code. He was using Linux terminal. You could use either probably Microsoft PowerShell or Windows PowerShell, sorry, or command prompt. Great. I'm glad there was a post in the question and answer session that got answered. Now, what Given was doing was basically setting up the foundation of what you need to run Laravel on your machine. Once you do that, it becomes a lot easier to handle, especially the front end of things. And for those who might need an explanation, front end, back end, it's essentially, how can I say, there was this really nice meme that I saw. Like, it's funny, but it actually helped explain things a lot. And what the meme did was show, it was sort of a restaurant, right? Yeah. And it said the front end was the front end was what? I'm sorry. Exactly. The front end were the waiters that were serving the plates. The back end, no. The front end was actually the tables and everything that where people sat and where the plates would be, right? So when people come to eat, the back end would be the kitchen and the APIs or the waiters that would bring food. Now, that's a pretty simple but actually apt explanation of how this works. The front end is usually what you see, right? The website, the interface, the things you click and so on, the buttons, and the pictures, and everything. That all comes out of the front end. The back end is essentially all the work that website is doing, not in the background, but in the quote-unquote back to make sure you see everything you're seeing in the front end. And then, yeah, there's APIs that connect the front end and the back end so that you can use, in this case, the website the way you want to. This doesn't just apply to web development, it applies to actually pretty much all forms of development. But yeah, that's how things basically work. Now, given us doing the much harder, very technical
hello?
part. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think it's also important to mention that Laravel is based on what is called the MVC model. So basically MVC is like model, controller, and view. So as Clint was saying, the front end is what the user views. Like every time you go to a website, what you see is the front end, or the buttons or the functions that you see. Then the model is, in a way, it could be similar to the backend. The model includes the backend. Yeah, so those are the databases, the information that people can't see on a website, the things that make the website run, the functions. If you send an email, it has to go through the backend. If you upload something to a website, maybe a picture or a video, it goes to the backend. Then the controller is like the API, the intermediator, the thing that's like the interpreter between the user and the backend. So the controller, the API, as you were saying, is sort of the middleman between everybody. Yeah, I think so. I think that's it.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much actually a pretty apt way of explaining things. So, yeah, as they were saying, so model view controller, right? The views are what you guys see. The model is essentially what's running the back. The controllers are, those waiters that I was saying, serving plates to people. So that does make things a lot, I would say, easier for hopefully a lot of you to understand. Now, as I was saying, Kevin was doing the very, very, very technical part right now, which is essentially working a lot on the model, which is much more technical. But the good thing about Laravel is once you set it up, it's gonna get a lot easier. Like you'll see now, you're setting up a post page, I think, on a home page. Sorry, on a home page. But once that part is done, you'll see that working on those post pages and home pages doesn't actually require code. You can handle this the same way you would handle a Facebook page. To be honest, actually, yeah, you write some stuff, you can add some pictures, you can even sort of work on a format and make sure everything looks nice. So something which I would say is a lot easier for a lot of you guys. So bear with us. I know things are getting very technical for some of you, and a lot of you are scared, especially those who are like first timers. But it gets a lot better as you go along. So I'm gonna go back into the video, but I'm gonna maybe skip ahead just a little bit, and then we continue and finish this off. Then maybe we can see about working on that's more front end orientated. You guys think that's a good idea? Tabuzo? Sergani?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, sure. So let's continue.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. I was scared something had happened to you. Something.
Nope. I'm here.
Yeah, just very quiet.
Cause I don't know Laravel.
Fair enough. I didn't know much about it until like 2 weeks ago, so it's fair. All right, let's see if we can continue here.
Going to use a blade directive called extends layouts.app. So this is telling Blade that this view it belongs to this layout. So let's just put an H1 here, which is say welcome. Just going to say welcome to FlixText blog. Okay, let's check that one out. As you can see, the welcome to FlixText blog. I think I forgot to do something, so I need to create a section for content. Seems like I haven't built. Okay, let's run this watch again to build the dependencies. Alright, anyway, so let's run this again. Ta-da! Welcome to FlixText blog. So we don't have any blogs yet, so we got nothing to show. So next thing, we're going to create the create action so that we can show the form to create our blog. Okay, so let me go back to the post controller. Here in the create method, so this is the create action. This is going to show the form to create a new resource. In this case, our resource is a post, so we're just going to say return view post.create, and let's go ahead and create that view. create.blade.php. So again, this is going to extend the layouts.app, and you're going to create a section for the content, and then let's just put H1 here, which is saying create new blog. So if we go ahead and go to post create, so this is going to show us a form to create a new post, but we don't have that one yet. We're going to define it in a moment. So yeah, create a new blog. So let's create our form that we're going to use to create a new blog. So I'm going to use some bootstrap here. So let me just define that real quick. Container. All right. Let me create a new form real quick. Create a form. Then our action is going to be route, which is going to be posts dot create. So if you remember earlier, we created we used this resource, so it's going to give names to our routes. So the first name is the name of the resource, separated by a dot, then the action that I want to use. In this case, the action is going to be store. We're going to store, so it's post.store, and then the method is post. And then there's this other directive we are going to put, which is cross-site request forgery. So this is going to embed a token for security reasons. Going to embed a token. So let's go form group label form title and then type of text name is equal to title, and then class form control, and then I'm also going to need the body form group, and then label for body, and body. For this board, we are going to use a text area.
What is the objection?
All right. So that actually ended on a bit of an interesting note. Again, working from home, it's been quite a thing. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna shift to another video. I think, to be honest, the larger part of what we talked about, even when I paused for a second, still largely applies here. Given us pretty much setting up the basis. Sorry, the basis of how to get Laravel working and what's required for it to work. Now, the good part of all this is, I'm very sorry. We can skip to something that's more front-end oriented right now. There's one that's based on a login form that I believe is we're gonna play just now. Then we'll play most of that, and then we'll skip to one where it's actually another page entirely. Chaguzwa, Shagani, you guys there?
Hello? Yeah.
Okay. Well, funny enough, the question and answer section only asked one question, which was literally when the screen wasn't showing anything. I haven't had any questions from anyone, even on my WhatsApp. Usually, some people are a little scared to post publicly and go there. But That's fine. We'll see if anything else comes up in later videos, especially considering this one was very technically well dense. So, Tagozo, I believe you are gonna play the next one. Then, yeah, we'll go from there, right? I believe the next one is probably the login for one.
Yeah. So, just one moment.
Sure, no problem. Shagani, are you learning more about Laravel now?
Installation, I guess, of which I could probably figure that out.
Oh, okay. So, so this is the end stuff part. Like you can just figure things out. Okay, you don't need it. This is
No.
the
I've
part.
installed a lot of things in my life. I think I've got the hang of it. Now I'm waiting for the technical part.
This was the technical part.
Sure.
Oh, okay, fine. No. This was the more technical part. Like, yeah, you can set up some pages, but then afterwards, it again becomes significantly easier. So I actually understand anyone who got scared off by this part, but the good thing is once you get past this, I mean, after all, this is based on PHP. This is the same stuff that's powering WordPress and I believe even Squarespace.
That's cool, but I also don't know PHP.
Well, now you learn it. It's not hard at all. In fact, that's what I was saying. It powers things like WordPress. The whole point of WordPress is anyone can run a website. Like literally anyone running a WordPress website is like running. Well, what's it called? What can I think of here? Oh, okay. Sorry. Takuzo already started the second video. Takuzo, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. You can get us started.
So what happened in the background? So we had to skip some parts a little bit. What happened? What you missed is that he sort of designed the login form that you're seeing right here. So those are some of the technical bits. But then one good thing about Laravel is that since it reuses some code, you may not have to spend as much time designing a login form as you would starting from scratch. So Laravel sort of reuses some code and you can tweak a little bit. You can change some things, but yeah, it saves time when it comes to creating the general stuff, a login form, a save form, upload forms. So I'm just going to play this and I hope you guys understand. Please don't get lost. And if you get lost, you can go to the Q&A section and ask a question. These wonderful Laravel gurus will be happy to help you. Yeah, okay.
Since I don't have
Just let's see how this goes.
to and create
Clint, did you say something?
No. I was saying you can get the video started. Seems like we mentioned that to stop. Everything okay on your side?
Yes, wait.
Sure. The sound was playing.
a new account. So my name is given and then a password. I'm just going to pick a new password. Let me use this one and then I'm going to register. So now let's get back to hosts create. So now that I'm logged in, this should work as fine. So we're going to create our posts introduction to Laravel.
and then our body was hello world, and let's create post. As you can see, it's redirected us to post 1 edit. This one is the ID of the post we just created, and the action is edit. So nothing here since we don't have anything in our post controller. So if we go to our post controller, on the edit method, so we're just going to return a view of post.edit. The way to pass data to blade components, you pass them as an associative array. So, and then I'm going to say post is equals to post. Okay, so since we don't have this view, let's go ahead and create it. Edit.blade. Since here we are doing pretty the same thing, I'm going to copy and paste whatever is in here. And
No, sorry, I had to pause. To those of you who don't understand what's happening, it's fine. Take it slow. Someone just came to my WhatsApp right now. So basically what happened was he created a form, and then he coded the PHP, the backend part, as in the functionality of the form. So everything that's happened, everything that has happened, everything that you missed in the video that I skipped was just basically designing the form that you saw, then coding the back end part of the form. Now he's just showing you how the form is working, how everything is working, and he's switching around the code. It's best if you take it slow. I know it's overwhelming at first. Everything is always overwhelming at first, but then if you keep at it, you get the hang of it sooner rather than later. So I'm gonna continue now.
here I'm going to say the title to edit block, and then the route I'm going to change it to update, since we're going to update our post, and we're going to pass the post, and then the value is going to be old title or post title. What I'm doing here is that let's say I have an error in the title, a validation error. So I'm just going to return whatever was put in that field, so that the user don't have to retype again. So same goes here. Old body and then post body. Okay, there's one thing I forgot when we are doing the create method, which is about the validation errors. So let me show you how you can display them. So here I'm going to use the error directive error title. So this is going to tell Blade if there is if the title is an error around this code. So I'm just going to put a bootstrap class which is invalid and error. Okay, and then we are also going to display the error message. So we're going to create a span. We're going to give it a class of invalid feedback, and then say raw alert, and then we're going to say error title, and then we're just going to display the error message. Okay, so let's just copy this one and paste it for the body part, and then same, let's copy this one again and put it over here, and then instead of title we'll go same body. So what this does is if there is a validation error, it's going to show it. So let me demonstrate that real quick. So if we come back here and we refresh our page, so now we are editing our blog. So let's say I just decided to not put the title here, and then I say, okay, I forgot that. So let me update this one to be update post instead of create post before you continue. Update post. All right, let's see. So I was saying, if I don't put the title and say update post, okay, there's one thing, the post method is not supported for this route, so we forgot something here. So the update method doesn't support a post, so we need to say method, which is going to be patch, and let's go back and try that again. So we're not putting a title this time. That's not gonna work because we didn't validate it. Let's go ahead and do that. So in our post controller, so we're just going to copy this validation code into the update method, and then we're going to say post update the data, and then we're just going to redirect back. All right, so let's try that again. So as you can see, it's telling me the title field is required. So let's say now I'm going to change the title to just some random title, and I update the blog.
So this is where this video ends. What was happening there was that he was testing the functionalities of the page, and he was updating some. So this was based. Sorry. Okay, Clint might have disconnected. So, just one moment.
So now we can update our blog. Now as you can see, our blog is being updated. So now we can create our blogs, we can update them. So how about reading them? Let's see about reading them. So if we go back here, I want to also put some validations to the value is going to be old title or just an empty string. The same applies here. The value is going to be old title or just an empty string. And then I'm also going to paste this here, and let me do this real quick. Error body is invalid and error. Let me copy this again and paste it for the title. Okay. Now we're good. All our posts have validations and all that stuff. So now let's return back here on the. So now we want to display our blogs as a list. So let me put some bootstrap here real quick with this container call of let me make df class a call of saving nx auto to center it, and then here, if we go back to our post controller on the index action, remember we said I want to get all the posts that have been created. So we're going to use a function called compact posts. So what this function does, it takes the name of the variable post and then create an array from it to pass the data to the views. So in our index.blade, so let me create df class call of 12 h4. Okay, first. So let's loop through the blocks. So posts is post I'm just going to want to make this one a link. So the first thing we say anchor, and then put the route to post.index. Ndopedza nguva yekurekodha kwacho toenda zvinzwa.
Clint?
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, that's where this one ends.
Yeah, I thought that part was gonna, but it's fine. We usually prefer something like that, personally, but this is it. Working from home has been interesting time for most of us, to say the least. I think we'll finish it off with. Just to be clear, that was part 5, right?
Yes. No, that was part 4. That was the second part of part 3, which is part 4.
What I'm gonna do is finish that off, and I think we'll continue. I think actually we'll wrap up. Sorry. Let's see here. Started.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
No, I'm saying let me try something. Sorry. My
Okay.
mic is having issues. I noticed. Sorry about that. Let me try this exact. So let me share my screen here. Share again. Okay, there we go. All right. Can you see? It should be working. There.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish off with this, and then I think we'll close this out.
Cool. I can't see the audio.
Yes.
is on.
There's no sound?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Cut this. You do that.
And
No?
here we're going to create our post view, which is
Yeah, it's working now.
.play.php. And then this extends the layers .app, and we're going to create the section for the content. Then let's just put a quick content. Wow. And each one. Then let me put the post title there. Title. And then div of 3. And then in here I'm just going to put the post body. Post body. Now if we go back and refresh the page, now here is our little blog post. Alright, so the next thing we haven't implemented yet is deleting the posts. So what I'm going to do is down here I'm just going to add a little pattern which is going to be delete and edit. So down here let me put another div, and then let me put margin top of 5, and then I'm going to put first one is going to be an anchor. This is going to edit our post. I'm just going to say edit here. And then the next one for deleting, what we're going to do is to delete we need to use the delete method, of which the browser doesn't support that natively, so we're going to use a form. And then the action is going to be the route to the post dot delete. This should be posts, not post. And then we'll pass in the post here. This version, and then we're also going to add a method which is delete, and then we'll add a button type submit, just give it a bit of danger and then say delete. Then let's make a little flex box here. Let's say display flex, justify, align, items baseline, and then here I'm going to save this. So it's saying post.delete is not defined. This route should be post.destroy, not delete. .destroy. And if we reload our page again, now it is something. Okay, here is our edit button and here is our delete button. Okay, so if we delete this post, nothing happens. It didn't delete it because we don't have anything in the delete method. So let's define how we can delete that. So let's go back into the post controller, down here to the destroy method. We're just going to call post delete. This is going to delete the post, and we're going to redirect the user to the index page. So we'd say redirect route posts dot index. So now if we click this link to delete, it should delete our posts and then redirect us to the post homepage. As you can see, we don't have anything here. We deleted all our posts. So for these guys, we have actually covered all the basic CRUD functionality. We're now able to create our posts, we're able to edit them, to view them, to list them. That's pretty much what there is to know about CRUD. So the other thing is that users don't actually have to log in to view the posts. So they only have to log in to edit and to create them. So let's see how we can go about that. So let's go back to Laravel's documentation. Let's say Laravel authorization. Let's look into the docs and see how we can only authorize certain actions and not others. Then we go to the latest documentation. So I wanted to see about protecting routes. Yeah. Protecting routes.
Okay, so this is pretty much the final part of. Sorry, I heard that my mic's not great. as I was saying, so this was pretty much the final part of Given's video series. Now I will actually ask him for a link because he has a full video series that's much better than this. Well, not much better, but rather that you won't have to rush through. Like, unfortunately, we had to keep up with the time limit. There actually have been some questions in the question and answer session. I'll check if our two co-hosts, Shakani and Taguzo, are still around before I jump back into this. Shakani, Taguzo, are you guys there?
Yeah, here.
Okay, that's Shakani, great. Taguzo seems to have disconnected for a sec. I think he'll reconnect as soon as he can. So, just to actually go over the question and answers. The first one was from Marilyn, who said, how strong of a PHP background must I have in order to fully understand this? Not that strong, actually, because, I mean, okay, yeah, Given did skip over just being like, hey, you can just install PHP and you get started with this. And it is true. And because Laravel, whilst related and based on PHP, does work differently enough that you could learn this all on its own and you would be mostly fine. Like, I think you would actually be really fine 90% of the time unless you face some very PHP specific error, which can happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be a lot easier. So even without really a background in PHP, if you're like Shakani here, who's never dealt with PHP, you would be just fine. By the way, just so that everyone is clear here, Shakani is actually really good at mobile development. I've seen a bit of her stuff. Am I wrong, Shakani?
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. That's what you're gonna go with. No. In fact,
I don't know. I'm not very good at hyping myself up. I suffer from major imposter syndrome, but yes, I have made things. Also, no background in PHP, but yes, I can confirm that you don't need that to follow the videos, and they're actually comprehensive. Like, if you have any programming background at all, because some of the concepts you find them in many other languages. It's just that it's done in a different language, I think.
exactly. Hold up, Shakani, is your video working?
Mine.
Yes. Do you mind using it rather? Let me know. Hey, there you go. No. Mine is actually not working. When I'm using the desktop at home, it's not. People need to think they're talking to somebody. So yeah, and yeah, you don't need that strong. So Marilyn, I hope you're still hearing this. You don't need that strong a background in PHP. It helps definitely. I'm not going to act like it doesn't, but think of it as if you are learning something like if it's mobile development. Let's see. Kotlin versus just straight up Java. You can code in Kotlin and like you can learn Kotlin from scratch and you learn a lot of Java concepts, but you can code in Kotlin without being a Java whiz before you start learning in Kotlin. So that's just something to think about. I did give a long answer in the question and answer section, but I think this will be fine. The second question is actually directly related. Is there a quick way to make this all easier? This person is anonymous. They didn't post their name. Shakani, you want to take this one first?
To be honest, the way I made my programming journey easier, I'm not sure if this is a cliche or everyone is aware of that, but like YouTube videos. I mean, I would also recommend the language documentation, but usually that's a bit heavy for people who don't want to go into like the very depths of coding. But YouTube tends to have like a lot of beginner videos, and they're actually very comprehensive most of the time because I think the makers of such videos, they bear in mind that sometimes they are catering to an audience that is unfamiliar with everything that you're doing. And usually they're not very advanced. And then when you start going to the advanced levels and stuff like that, that's when I think you start diving into the documentations and stuff. But even as a beginner, I would also recommend documentation if you're not lazy to read, because every language, if I'm not mistaken, usually has the documentation of it where they tell you literally everything about the language and what you can do with it, and then you can be creative from then on.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good way of actually summing it all up. YouTube videos are a good start. Documentation if you can. You're from DSC, so you actually don't know this stuff. Who's in DSC, which attests to this too. There's this really cool platform we use called Microsoft Learn, and it's pretty much beginner based. Like, I have
Yeah.
had people who have, yeah, exactly. Tabuto was great. Learn is perfect for beginner stuff. All our math sessions have pretty much been based on stuff from Learn, and this thing, the modules are timed, they're written properly. It's an online learning platform. Okay, same way Udacity is, same way, and it makes like videos and what's it called, actual written stuff, and even like built-in online IDE. So even if you don't have your could literally
Oh yeah,
search and write the code right there and then and see if what you're doing makes sense.
I think the Google programs also have like similar platforms. If I'm not mistaken, Pluralsight and Code Labs.
Yeah, they actually do tend to work. I mean, Google does tend to work with sites very closely. So there's a lot of stuff that people can check out. You don't necessarily have to be, how can I say this, beholden to one source, that's for sure. But just to go back, I guess, directly to the question, so is there a way to make this all easier? Yeah, lots of learning materials, some tutorials, and practice. Okay, it's really how we all go. I mean,
Yeah. Also, it's
yeah,
yeah, I want to say that it's important to be consistent when it comes to coding, because I think that coding is different from something like mathematics or English. Like, if you get the hang of it, then you're done. The thing is, it's pretty dynamic. Things are constantly changing. You need to keep yourself updated, and you need to keep practicing. So if you become a developer, you end up knowing, for most people, 5, 6 languages to code in. And if for most people, 5, 6 languages to code in, and then if you become redundant, you tend to forget the principles of one language. So if you're going to start something new, you need to be consistent in doing it. Yeah.
I also, yeah, the thing that Takuzo touched on, multiple languages. I think that's also important. I'm not saying that be an expert in all the languages, but I think it helps to touch here and there on other languages besides the primary language that you have chosen to be your specialization. Because in my case and a lot of other coders cases that I've met, you find that maybe you learn a concept in JavaScript, you don't really understand it, and then you do it in Python, and then suddenly you understand it. When I was doing arrays in C sharp, I didn't really understand what they were about. But when we finally did them in Java, Python, it was like, oh, okay, so I understand what this is about.
yeah, exactly. And I'm just, that's actually something that I would say is sort of underrated, because I would say it actually on two fronts, right? Number one, which is try out different languages just for the simple sake that different languages do different things and do different things very well. and sometimes it takes some playing around before you actually realize what works best for you. A good example of this, I guess, for me is I started with web development straight up. I did pretty much basic old school web development, your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript for a while. Then I started dealing with frameworks a lot later. And web development is great, don't get me wrong, I love it, but I become more and more entrenched with mobile bit by bit. And I discovered Xamarin, and Xamarin is this weird thing where it's like, it's part of what I learned with mobile, but it's also a huge part of what I've learned with web, just because it has a markup language. And this appreciation that I have now only comes because I've, explored and played around with a few things differently. So don't get me wrong, definitely pick a language, stick to it, get good at it. That helps with employment, that helps with you just being a whiz, which is required. But it's always good to check out what's there on the other end too, because there might be some really cool things that you're missing out on that you might want to check out. Another question. So what would you say is the best language to start with? I think I'll let it go. Your own answers. I don't know.
The best language to start with. So to most people think that Python is sort of the best, but I don't think so, because the things in Python are sort of oversimplified, and when you get to the complicated stuff, I don't know, you'll be sort of behind. I would recommend a language like probably C++. Then you go to Python.
C++.
Then you try that. C++ wasn't that complicated, to be honest. Just don't try to learn data structures and algorithms using Java, because if you try doing that, you will just die.
Okay. I think this is where it all comes down to, that programming is a very personal thing, and we all definitely end up having like our own opinions of like what was easiest for us. Like I started with web development. That's markup languages. That's not really programming languages, if you want to be super technical about it. But it was a really big gateway into getting into the rest of programming for me. So I'm not necessarily saying people should start with programming, but it worked for me. Some people say I don't really go with Ruby, so I'm not sure. A lot of people go the C route, like learn a bit of C. I know a lot of university courses actually teach in C. You go on Harvard CS50, that's C as well. You learn a bit of C, you maybe go in C#, then you jump into everything else and choose what works for you. I get that. That's really, I guess it's all really subjective, but yeah. Shagani, what do you think?
Again, I have to agree with Takuza, because also it depends what you really want to do with the coding. Like if you're just a casual coder, like you know what, this is not really a career, I'm just doing this for fun, then Python might be good, because you can see you can make complicated things in a very simplified way, which is what I really liked about it, because I could produce things faster and I could see the results of my code without as much work and logic as I would in lower level languages. However, if you actually want to do something with it, like maybe you have a passion, I would also advise starting on the lower levels, understanding the concepts from scratch, because when you do understand the concepts, I think it's easier to move from language to language when you know exactly what these things do, and the basis of these concepts, and the simplified methods, what they are based on, and what's exactly happening in the background, if you understand. Because I started with C, but most people who they study the C or C++ when they're at varsity level, and I think it was important to at least put that interest in me, because I understood what was happening, not at machine level, but like at like the lowest possible like level, human language level, if you understand what I'm saying. So I was able to build on that foundation, you know, and simplify things. And I think that's why Python is used for more complex things, like you know, the rocket science, the machine learning and all that, because you don't have to worry about making all these methods and all these you don't really have to worry about the little things, you understand? So if you're building some big projects, then yes, Python, I would recommend it. If you're doing programming casually, I would also recommend Python. But if you really want to know what's going on and have a passion for coding and you want to do many other languages as well, I would recommend starting from the very bottom, which would be C and C++.
Okay, that's awesome.
Also,
yeah. Go ahead, please.
okay. What I wanted to say that the thing with programming languages is that they're best suited for certain things. For example, in game development, if you're going to develop games, I would recommend C++, Java along those lines. For machine learning, data science, data capture, Python. The main reason is that Python sort of runs quicker compared to, the main reason why Python is recommended in machine learning and data science is that Python sort of runs quicker, and machine learning sort of has a lot of data to process. I don't know if you understand machine learning to a great extent, but you really have to capture a lot of data before your program is considered wise, I guess. Then game development and industrial app development, why I would recommend C++ and Java, is that these programming languages are built to handle such, how can I say, pressures, or the pressures that come with operating at an industrial level. But yeah.
You're totally right, and it's great that everyone has all these different how you get these things together. Besides, that's the reason we start the community. It's mainly often a case of like trying to make everything just, trying to organize it. Yeah, spread even the little knowledge that we have, and then get more people with their own knowledge, and they add on to this. I mean, given as a part of my community, I knew of Laravel, but I have never touched Laravel until 2 weeks ago when he said he wants to do an event on this, and I at least tried to work on the basics. So it's awesome, and it's great that we were at least able to come together like this. I know there were constraints on everyone's side. Everybody probably had at least 5 people in their groups going like, what about data? We don't have data, and so on. And it's a shame that people have these constraints, but we feel them and we understand them. And again, that's why they'll be recording on this online. That's for the HIT student ambassadors group, but I'm sure Takuzo is probably getting one sorted out for him. Shakani, if you need one for DSC as well, like if you need the recording for DSC, you have access to it. Everybody can take this, maybe edit some things out just because it's a little smoother, and all our members can catch up with this and continue maybe from where this left off. I'll send the link to Given's blog. Unfortunately, I don't have it here, where he literally goes even more in depth on Laravel and PHP as a whole, and a bunch of other things, because this guy's a whiz, I'm not gonna lie. So I think that'll be interesting for everybody to check out.
Yeah, also I think there's this book I have been checking out. It's called Rework. by Jason Fried, whatever his name is, and David Heinemann. It's a really good book for developers. It's called Rework. I think you guys should check it out. I'm sure when you read like the first 10 pages, you'd be already engaged, and you just have to go through the rest of the book. It helps.
Send the link through and check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last words from anyone else? Chakani, Tagudai, everyone, just before we sign off.
Thank you for inviting us.
Sure, no problem. Definitely, no problem. Hope we collaborate again on other events sometime soon. It would be great if we all just came together again like this. And hopefully when this whole pandemic is over, it would be an actual live in-person event where all of us would get to meet. I think that would be fun.
Cool, that would be cool, yeah.
Anything from you?
You know what? You just stay consistent. If you want to be a developer, keep doing it. And wherever you end up, just be the best of who you are. If you're going to end up working for somebody, if you're going to end up working on your own, be the best of who you are, and everything should be fine.
Awesome. Those are some pretty wise words there. Thanks, man. So again, guys, thanks to everyone who was able to attend. For those who already follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at Microsoft SAHIT. I don't know if anyone else in here has their handles up. If not, we'll definitely again redistribute those around the various groups and WhatsApp networks and the Microsoft Teams groups and everything. But yeah, thanks for everything, guys. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Sure, okay. And that